Wow, what an honor to be on this show. And thank you to my wonderful wife. How she said, 100%, 100%, we are a team. We are going through life, and we had the privilege and the honor to win the World Championship together. And this connects us. But there are so many other things that connect us. I also want, before I start, give thanks and appreciation to Vikki and her team for setting things up, for setting the stage and making it possible that all these amazing speakers that you've heard and the others to come have the opportunity to share what is really important for them. And one of the things that is really important for me and I would like to share with you are how to get to where you want, how to build success. And to me, business, life, and everything else is actually comparable to a sport. And how to achieve this, you need to understand the anatomy. And it's great that we are here with 8 speakers. We are here with the number 8, and the 8 is something special. So 8 means abundance. 8 means wealth. 8 means success. 8 means infinity. And I'm going to show you 8 books in the next 7 minutes left, and then give you my ideas along to that. So the first book, Anatomy, The Anatomy of Success. What's the anatomy of success? To me, you can know how to do multiple things, but if you really want to be successful, you need to understand what is behind that. And when we trained for championships, for example, we were training the basics over and over. And sometimes you just want to go and do the things that you see, but you forget that there's a way to it and there's a basic that you need to train. And if you look at ballet dancers, for example, before they perform, they warm up their body with basics 8 hours before the actual performance. And this is really crucial to understand, because if we look at the business is built on principles, and life is built on principles. And sometimes we translate the principles into methodologies, into models, and then we call it physics or something else. But basically, it's principles. And the first principle I would like to talk about is strategy. And choosing a strategy is the most important thing. Why? Because most people don't have a strategy. And there's been a study made, only 1 out of 20 people have a goal. And to me, a strategy means having a goal, a plan to get there. And it doesn't really matter what you understand about a strategy. And in fact, if you look at Amazon, and you search for strategy books, you will find over 100,000 results. If you just look at the definition of strategy on Google, how much? 2.3 billion results for definition on strategy. So it's normal. Everybody understands something different, but we need to choose ours. Next principle. Habits, the power of habits, and especially during the corona, during the pandemic, during the lockdown, it's important, because what happens? We are doing things over and over. When we do things over and over, 21 days in a row, we created a habit. So imagine, just think about it, what kind of habits you created during the lockdown. Did you work? Did you do something that moves you forward? Did you create a habit that actually hinders you, that puts you into the comfort zone? You choose. Next principle. This book is called 41 False Stars, and written by a lady who was a successful entrepreneur. And actually, this lady tried again and again until she succeeded. And we only can succeed in business and life when we really try and when we learn from it. And this also means, if we translate it into business, we need to measure what we have done. We need to make it visible. And if we measure and have certain KPIs, key performance indicators, then we know what has happened. And then we can fine tune. Then we can take one of those KPIs, tweak it a little bit, and go one step further. And if you think about sports, for example, high performance sport, think of Usain Bolt. Do you think he has measured how fast he was running? Do you think during the time he was training, he was actually pulling weight and sprinting with it? Do you think he was always measuring and increasing this, and his coach helped him to do that? Yes, of course. Next principle. Winning the talent wars. Do you think you can win a super talent? There are ways, and actually, if I tell you, it's very hard and sometimes intimidating if we see somebody who's so talented, who's so good and passionate about something, then we think we cannot compete at all. We should give up. But actually, in fact, business studies, sports studies show that a super talented person actually, the least amount of cases, becomes a real champion. What actually belongs to that is really pushing through. And translating this to business, I give you one example. If I train a lot of salespeople, and when you look at their behavior and you analyze these KPIs that I talked before, when they do the follow-ups, most people give up after the first time. Then there's actually people who give up after the second time. But if you want to win a deal, you need to try at least 8 times, an average, sometimes 15, sometimes 20, and sometimes it takes 1.5 years to close one deal. Just take that into account. Next one. Straight from the gut. If you know Mel Robbins, she invented the 5-second rule. And this means 5 seconds to decide, because your gut feeling is often right. And we make decisions on the spot. We are trained to that. We are human beings. We are living animals. And we have it in us. So we know the answer. So let's decide fast and go to the next one. Tribes. You need to build a tribe around you. This is one of my favorite topics. But what does a tribe mean? It needs to be built on certain ethics, on values, on things that connect us together on a shared interest. And then we can lead from there. And it also means we need to have a culture around it. A leader can also be involving a coach, a consultant. And every big company has consultants and coaches. Think about this. Last book I want to show, Smart Thinking. Take a step back and look what you have done, what is happening. Sometimes we are too much in the business. Sometimes we need another perspective, and sport teams always have other perspectives. May it be the audience, may it be the coach, and they actually succeed because they get an external perspective and then can improve. I want to close this with telling a story, and this is one medal that I was dreaming always to have it on my chest, singing the national anthem and being proud of representing my country. And we were lucky with my wife that we won these medals. But what happened after this? And my wife knows this very well. After I won this medal, I actually had a depression, because I had the false impression that this will make me happy. It did not. So the game that we play is not a finite game. It's an infinite game. And this is what Simon Sinek explains in his new book. And you cannot win, for example, such thing as a marriage. You need to understand that if you really want to succeed, it's a continuous journey. And the journey continues, also the journey of this HIT Talks. So I want to give my thanks and appreciation and hand over back to our beautiful host, Valerie.